Okay, so the question I want to ask is, how can I get this psychology internship position? So I'm going to invoke my higher self. Higher self. I sincerely invoke your aid in answering
the following question. How can I get a psychology internship position?
Put it right here to remind me, in case I forget exactly what information I'm looking for while I'm doing the reading. Shuffle 10 times. While thinking about the question mentally. Whenever cards pop out while I shuffle, I like to get a look at them. And this one's interesting because one of them reversed. Which one reversed? I shouldn't have moved them. I think this one popped out reversed. This card, Seven of Cups, is illusion. Being tricked by appearances, surface appearances, because you're projecting your own emotions onto them. And so you become kind of confused about what's real and what's not. It can also mean drunkenness, substance abuse. The basic theme of this card is being confused by your own emotional projections. So we'll put these back in. This is usually a very positive card. The Star, it's Aquarius, hopes. All right, cut once. And now we're going to cut into 4 piles, and we start by cutting about in half, or just wherever your intuition tells you to cut, and then you cut the first pile again, and this pile again like this, so that you have 4 piles. Yod, He, Vav, He, fire, water, air, earth. We're going to look for the Significator. And this is the card that astrologically represents me. Since this reading is about me, I'm asking the question here. My question being, how can I get the psychology internship position? And I'm an Aries, a fire sign, and I'm a bachelor. So I choose to signify me, the Knight of Wands. So let's see where the Knight of Wands turns up. What position he is in. So he's not in the first pile, which is Yod and fire, which stands for initiation of ideas, start of something, the beginning of what's about to happen, the initiating impulse or idea behind something. I'm now looking through the first hay pile, which is water, and it stands for your kind of hopes and wishes and desires and emotions, affections. It's not in there. We are now in the Vav pile, which is air, element of air. And air stands for action, processes, plans in motion, things unfolding, events taking place, and therefore conflict. Not in the air pile, which only means it could be in the final hay pile, which is earth, which means material reality, the solid things of this earth, embodied forms, definite, concrete, health, anything having to do with the body, material reality, basically. Since I'm asking about employment or an internship position, it kind of makes sense that the Significator, the Knight of Wands, would be in the earth pile. So now that I've found him, I'm going to make the cut here, and every card that comes after him, I'm going to put it at the back of the cut here. I can put these away as this is the pack of cards I want to deal with, and by interpreting these, it will tell me how I can get the psychology internship position.
So we're going to lay them all out in a circle. Let us start. How about here? Maybe. Okay. So now I'm just going to lay them as they come after in kind of a circular formation so that we can count.
Usually when I shuffle, I don't shuffle so as to make reversals possible, because there's ways of determining whether a card is well dignified or ill dignified without relying on reversal positions. You look at the cards that come before and after it and how they kind of, the vibration of the card interacts with those on either side of it. So I'm just going to turn this up. Okay, so here's our very rough circle, and our starting point is always going to be here with the Significator, the Knight of Wands. All right, the Knight of Wands is an elemental card. There's 4 elements: fire, water, earth, air. So we're going to count 4 in the direction that he's facing. He's facing this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4. First card the count lands on is the World. Planetary card, Saturn. It's a major arcana. And it's the last card in the sequence of major arcana. And it kind of means success. But it's also Saturn. And Saturn means limitations. And by positioning it at the end of the major arcana, I think the people who created tarot, the masters of wisdom, were saying that when you learn how to make your limitations work for you, that's when you truly achieve greatness, or you become at one with everything, because you're no longer, it's like the Tao, you know, you're not fighting anymore. You've learned how to dance with the gravity the constrictive powers of reality. You've learned how to implement them in your favor so that you can dance on the air and you kind of just roll with all the punches, and you've become a success. So that's a positive start. And since this card is a planet, and there's 9 planets, we're going to count 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, don't like to see this one. The 5 of Cups. This means having to accept some kind of emotional loss, some kind of heartache, crying over spilt milk. So in the context of this question, how can I get the psychology position? Does this mean that I'm not going to get it? It's going to appear from the beginning that I will, but then I'm going to have to come to terms with, like, it almost went through, but it didn't actually happen. I don't know. Let's see what else. So I may have to prepare myself for emotional upset or loss. A feeling of loss is which this card represents. So 5 of Cups, you always count the number on the card for the minor arcana. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which is kind of an interesting card to show up right after that, because the 6 of Swords means moving on, transitioning, kind of getting over a painful experience and starting to feel better again about something and just moving on to the next thing, counting your losses and starting to feel better and moving on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we just left the 6 of Wands, and now we've hopped over, we left the 6 of Swords and we hopped over to the 6 of Wands, which means victory. Interesting. So maybe what will happen is I'll have a successful first interview, and then I won't hear back from them for a long time, and I'll be feeling kind of bummed about that. Then I'll start to feel better and be like, hey, there'll be other opportunities out there. I gotta just pick myself up and move on. And then all of a sudden, they call back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a very positive card. It means like material completion, like having it all. It's all come together on the material level. Events have cohered. Whenever you're looking at Pentacles, you're thinking about earth and embodiment and things of the material reality, possessions, wealth, money, health, the state of your body. And the 10 means kind of the fullness, like the highest point of materiality. Everything has come to complete and total fruition to the degree that there's a surplus that can be passed on to the next cycle. So in a kind of, and don't forget that this all started in the earth pile, and this is about, a job I'm trying to get, which, while it's an internship position, it is paid. I will be making money for this, and so I think this bodes well for me getting this position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've landed on a card that we hit before, so the counting cycle of this reading is now over. Once you hit something, you've hit a card you've landed on before, the card that you land on twice becomes the most important card of this reading. So here we are, 6 of Swords. The card of kind of being willing to move on. And so what's coming to me intuitively as I think about this question, how can I get this psychology internship position, is if this is the most important card in this point, I shouldn't appear too desperate. I shouldn't psych myself out in the interview, and I need to be cool and reasonable and not put all my eggs in one basket, and not sabotage myself by putting out a vibe of desperation, because that only turns people off if you're like clingy and like, please, me, pick me. It just even on a subconscious level, maybe the interviewer will sense that and want to move on to another candidate who's more confident in themselves. So anyways, how can I get this psychology internship? Be willing to move on. Have this attitude is the most important part of it. And in the context with the other cards, I mean, this reading appears pretty positive, but we'll do the next phase of the reading, which is pairing the cards side by side so that we can kind of get a time frame on how the events will transpire. We do that by taking our significator, and then we're going to pair all the cards on either side with it.
So here we go. It's important not to mess up the order.
Looks like if I go any further, I'll be out of camera range. So what I'm going to do is just interpret these and then move them up, and I'll get the rest in. So here I am. This is me. And my question is, how can I get the psychology internship position? So in the past, I've meditated on this. I've thought about this. I've listened to my inner voice on this subject. This is something I've been thinking about for a very long time, is how to get into a position like this. And in the future, that's going to put me in a position of success, of victory, of getting what I wanted, getting the recognition I feel like I want to get. This is based on an ability of mine that I've shown in the past, which is to kind of control my animal nature, to sublimate it into projects, goals, aims that I have chosen. Yeah, the card of strength, the real kind of mystical angle on this card is on the tree of life. It's called the intelligence of all spiritual activities, meaning that everything spiritual happens through the sublimation of reproductive energy. The chi, the prana, the life force, the raw kind of life power that is flowing through all matter. And when the purified mind can harness it with emotional power, as symbolized by the red roses, the red lion of desire can be tamed and brought, the strength of this lion can be brought to bear upon noble undertakings that you've set for yourself. Interestingly, the next card is the devil. Capricorn, bondage is kind of the key word. Being shackled to material reality, taking things at a surface level, seeing things only from the position of what can I get out of it? Kind of the Darwinian law, survival of the fittest, like that kind of mentality, scarcity mentality. Like, I'm bound to this material world and I'll do whatever I can to rise to the top because it's dog eat dog out there. That's the kind of mentality that this archetype, it's the shadow, the more negative aspects So that's interesting that this comes up. And we have another card that can be a lot of majors, by the way. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4 majors so far, and we're going to come to a fifth. The Tower is Mars, and Mars is kind of like what the red lion is here in the card above it. The red planet Mars, the lightning struck tower. Mars is that kind of masculine projective force that, you know, whether you're male or female, all of us have these archetypes within our subconscious. So Mars is that projective force that impels you to move forward. Volition is a way to describe it. What you voluntarily feel the urge to do, what you want to work towards. But oftentimes it's based on a false premise. And what this archetype shows is that whenever force is applied to moving forward, anything that isn't real is going to crack. You're going to break some eggs to make the omelet. Anything that's on shaky ground is going to get knocked over. When you apply this kind of force, any weak point, any flaw in the plan, that's where it's all going to come tumbling down and fall apart. Because if you're going to do that kind of direct force, it's going to hit anywhere that isn't solid and knock it over. So this can be interpreted within the context of my question that I need to project myself in a kind of, you know, extroverted manner, maybe during the interview or something, or I have to show confidence that, you know, I want to move forward. I want to work. This is what I'm focused on. But I need to be aware that, you know, I don't want to break anything that doesn't need to. I don't want to step on any toes either, right? I want to wield this force with precision and care. And it looks like, according to this card, I'll be able to do that. Another major, the World, like we had in accounting. This is the first card that we came to. Success, when everything kind of comes together in your favor because you've learned how to operate within the limits. You've concentrated. You've used the Saturnine power of gravity to kind of focus everything into one perfect point of focus, and that's where everything can kind of solidify, turn into a success. The next step has been reached. But being able to move on from things, not becoming so attached that you're unwilling to let go if needs be. Being a student of the natural world, having a beginner's mind, being interested in the practical aspects of things, admitting that you don't know, and being curious about how things actually work. 3 of Pentacles, construction, working with others to build something. 6 of Pentacles, lots of Pentacles. 1, 2, 3. We've had a run. 6 of Pentacles is charity is one key word. It means you've accumulated enough wealth, enough what do they call that? Enough interest. You have enough capital that you're able to manage it wisely and spread it around. You're able to spread the wealth around a little bit when you've reached this point of Pentacles. So, in the past, I've been constructive, working with others. You know, I've gone to school for this. I have a resume. I've volunteered in psychology positions. I've learned from other people. I've been constructive along these lines. And hopefully, this means that in the future, I'll reach a point where I have more than I need, and I'm able to give back to others. All right. Wow. Another Pentacles card. So let's move all these out of the way since we've gone over them. Start just pairing these up. Another Pentacles and another Pentacles. Four of Pentacles. Management. Being able to manage your resources wisely. Not wasting your time. Prioritizing tasks correctly. So in the past position, I've been able to do this. Didn't this? Yeah, wow. This came right after the 3. So, I mean, if you think about it, like I shuffled that deck 10 times. Like, what are the odds that you get this kind of sequence? Leads to 10, which came up in the count. Like the fruition of all your plans into embodiment. Okay, this is interesting. After that long run of Pentacles, we're into Cups here. Desires, emotions, affections, feelings. So, you know, if this was a relationship reading, it would be, you know, about either a love relationship, a dynamic between two people that are attracted to each other, or I suppose it could be a friendship too. But since this is about a job, this could mean that the job and I are matched for each other, a partnership. This internship is quite the partnership for both of us. And in the past, both the person who's been interviewing me sees that on my resume, and I see that in the job description. And then we come to this. Now this card is always kind of tricky. Sure fit, or is it surfit? I'm never sure about how to pronounce that. It means being sated. You've had your fill, so much so that you're a little bit bored now. You got what you wanted. And now you're kind of like thinking what the next step might be that can make you happy, or the missing piece. It's like, I got it all, but I'm not quite satisfied, and what else is there? So in the future position, this is actually good, because it will mean that I've gotten the job, I've gotten good at it enough that I'm already thinking about what the next step is going to be. And since it's an internship, that's to be expected, you know. Ultimately, my goal is to be in a private practice. All right, let's interpret the next. Five of Cups. Wow. So we go 4 of Cups to 5 of Cups. So maybe I'll get cocky and I'll think, I got this. What else is there out there for me? And then I feel this devastating loss of kind of vain regret, crying over spilt milk. If only I had valued that thing a little more, I'd still be able to have it. Interesting. I'm not sure how to interpret this in our sequence. Another major arcana, the Empress. This is the throat chakra, emotions, the archetype in general, It's the planet Venus. It's the creative imagination. It's the response of the subconscious to self-consciousness. When self-consciousness and subconsciousness come together, proliferation of imagery happens, which is the creative imagination. And it's the matrix from which all outward material events precipitate. So the Empress is that feminine urge to nurture things into existence. And the way this happens with circumstances and events in life is you nurture imagery in your imagination that you want to see come to be in material reality. And so maybe this means that I will have to use my imagination to make sure that I get this position. I'm going to have to be creative. Seven of Swords. Yeah. This card, instability, because, as you can see, the guy, he's sneaking off from an enemy camp with a bundle of swords that he's stolen, but he's leaving two behind. And he kind of thinks he's so sneaky and good that he's already won. He's being a little too sure of himself, and he's opening himself up to making mistakes. So it means you've got the ability, but you become a little too sure of yourself, and you're in danger of slipping up and making a mistake, is how I interpret this. Final card. There's no card offset down here. If there had been, it would be interpreted as being opposite the significator up here, and so it would be interpreted as an obstacle, but it's not there. It's here. It's just in the last future position. Major archetype, Justice, Libra, the faithful intelligence, equilibrium, balance, poise, karma, work. Work, that's a good association. So maybe what this card means is I'll get exactly what I deserve. Justice, the amount of effort I put into this interview will lead to me getting exactly what I deserve. And that's a good thing. So, a little ambiguous to end on this card, but it's given me enough to kind of think about and meditate on, prepare myself for it. And the interesting thing is, you know, I'm not going to necessarily remember like all these steps and everything I've talked about, but my subconscious does. This is kind of a sophisticated way to meditate, basically, on an issue that's in your life. You find if you spend, I mean, I think we're at like almost 40 minutes of doing this. That's 40 minutes of sitting and concentrating on one subject that is important to you, and then kind of reading these archetypal symbols that register in your unconscious mind. It's like you're mulling over the problem, and you're asking your higher self to show you symbols that will tell you the reality of the problem. And I find that it really helps. Like, it gives me peace of mind. I've thought about all different kind of possibilities, things that could happen, what I need to pay attention to, and I won't necessarily remember any of this, before the job interview. I shouldn't be thinking about tarot cards, maybe like something like this could be like a major arcana card that seems significant. You might want to glance at it before your interview. But I guess just what I'm trying to say is that tarot reading, more than just divination, like trying to figure out what's going to happen, it's kind of like a meditative process for you to reflect on how you feel about a subject, where you're at with it, and it kind of smooths it out in your mind. And so when it comes time to actually encounter whatever you're kind of feeling anxious about or want to know more about, you've already kind of processed it on a very deep substratum of your subconscious, and you're going to be primed and ready to react in the most positive way that you can.